Gravity Falls turns 10 years old this month, and it's a pretty safe bet that large groups of fans of the show are excited and ready to celebrate. The show has proven itself to be kind of a timeless masterpiece, having premiered in 2012 but still managing to maintain a pretty relevant presence online even to this day. However, that being said, why am I here, years after it's ended, finally watching it for myself? Well, that is a loaded question. I do not know the answer to myself right now, but hindsight is 2020 or whatever. So with that excuse in mind, I have made the groundbreaking decision to get off my lazy ass and watch the entire series so I can finally fit in with all you cool kids who surely will not judge me too harshly for taking too long to see Alex Hirsch's baby. Gravity Falls follows the adventures of two 12-year-old identical twins, Mabel and Dipper Pines, whose parents send them away to a sleepy little town in Oregon to spend their summer vacation with their great uncle, or more affectionately referred to as their Uncle Stan. Jump cut to 3 months filled with suspenseful mysteries, endless conspiracies, and for some reason a triangle who is the actual Antichrist or something close to it. Seriously, what kind of a name is Bill for something that is essentially a chaos god? Tourist Trap does a pretty good job as a first episode, introducing the plot and main characters in a cliche but hilarious way. A voiceover of Dipper explaining his lot in life as he and Mabel frantically drive away in what I assume is a stolen golf cart while being chased by a terrifying monster. That is one hell of a way to do a cold opening. I feel for Dipper and Mabel because me and my brothers, when we were kids, were sent away to spend the summer with our relatives, but mainly our grandparents. Either way, I understand the sort of dread you feel being away from home with a family member you only see on the holidays and spending what should be 3 solid months in your own house, in your own room, just playing video games and eating junk food. Not being with your con artist great uncle in a one-horse town, sharing an attic with your sibling. Dipper and Mabel subvert the trope of a brother and sister pair who don't like each other, being portrayed as two kids who actually like being with their siblings. I've seen so many shows, cartoons included, that have siblings either hate each other, the older kid, typically a brother ruthlessly bullying the younger one, but Dipper and Mabel are actually pretty close. It may be because of the twin thing, but I like to think there are people out there who, if they had to be stuck with anyone, they're glad it's another kid they share blood with. They work together, have inside jokes, and are willing to put themselves in danger to protect the other. Stan is hilarious, and I can see why people shipped him with Ida at the beginning of the Owl House. This man shares her love of schemes, plots, and low-level victimless crimes. Although he seems to be more self-serving and not at all qualified to ensure the safety of a pair of minors, but he does his best, and is that not enough to ask of him? Susan and Wendy's appearances are so brief that I don't get a feel for their personalities, but they have amazing, funny, small lines that give them a pretty good glimpse of what I can expect from them later in the series. From all of the memes and clips I've seen over the years, I can tell that all of the other side characters are equally lovable as the main ones, but honestly, I'm more invested in the stories of the two gay cops. Also, I just love how brutally honest Stan is a lot about when he's about to do something illegal. It's really funny to me how he's just gonna go up to this guy who told him all these wax figures were cursed, and he's just like, wow, $20 a piece? I'm just gonna rob you. And the guy just goes like, what? And Stan's just like, yeah, I'm gonna rob you when you're not looking. It's just that blunt honesty that's so freaking funny. I was just laughing thinking about it. All in all, season 1 is pretty entertaining and proves that there is such a thing as balancing a more episodic and serialized tone in a show. Too often when shows that have an overarching plot get trapped in that cycle and they never take the time to have more relaxed episodes that are just silly and show the characters having fun. And it seems like whenever they do, people accuse the writers of wasting time just with pointless filler episodes in order to have more episodes in a single season. I've never understood or been a fan of this kind of thinking. I personally feel that if you can have a healthy mix of nonsense and seriousness in your series, you're good. I mean, if you're not having fun watching your favorite show and having all your favorite characters do goofy stuff in one episode and then facing a major life and death situation in the next, it is not entertaining and will never be. True to fashion when it comes to making programs for children, Gravity Falls based the plot of a lot of episodes on tropes. I know that people typically don't like overdone tropes, as the expectations of these plots can be a little bit predictable, but here's the thing. The reason that some tropes have lasted as long as they have is because they work so well, it's hard to invent something new. And even if you do, there's always that one person who hates to try new things. Either way, in the end, what matters is how those tropes are used or subverted. It's kind of one of the reasons why I don't like the way how Ruby is working right now, only because there are like no filler episodes in the last few volumes. I still like the show, but I feel like whatever balance they used to have with more mundane stuff is gone, and we're just focused on the big picture, whatever that is. Boy, I cannot wait till Volume 9 comes out. I have a lot to say about this show. Now, if I had to give my top 5 favorite episodes in season 1, they would be Dipper vs. Manliness, Headhunters, La Hand That Rocks the Mabel, Irrational Treasures, and Fight Fighters. Dipper versus Manliness is just absolutely hilarious. Just Dipper hanging out with these minotaurs that definitely made some people realize that they were furries, the stupid things they make this kid do to prove his masculinity, and then Dipper coming to the correct conclusion that there is nothing wrong with being a dude and liking European pop music. Headhunters is a pretty funny spoof on murder mysteries that gets real dark in the end. The fact that these wax statues have one purpose after being freed from years of imprisonment, just to try to chop up Stan's head, is just terrifying. And the fact that Dipper and Mabel technically end all their lives. They have sentience, they were alive, and they were murked by children. I also, again, love the scene where Stan is 100% honest of his intentions to rob this guy he just met for his cursed statues. That will never stop being funny. Seeing the twins work together in Irrational Treasure is a real treat. Dipper is an awesome brother who hates to see his sister being picked on and is willing to do anything to make her happy. I also gotta say that Pacifica is... Well, I understand why some people don't really like the way she was redeemed, but I'll get to that later if I can. But props to Mabel for becoming a member of Congress. You go, girl. Make everything legal. Gideon's first appearance in The Hand That Rocks the Mabel gave off some major John Edwards vibes. You guys know who that is? I'm old enough. I know who that is. Anyway, I figured he was either ghost reading people or that stupid little bow tie he wears did something to get info off of a person that they would not really tell anyone. Even still, he's a pretty entertaining antagonist and kind of a good foil for Dipper if that's what the intention was. I still have a feeling that if the show came out in 2016, there would have been a whole lot of Trump parodies of this kid. Fight Fighters is an obvious homage to games like Street Fighter and Tekken, and I can tell everyone who worked on this episode has some love of beat-em-up games. The character model for Rumble is just amazing, and I love that they didn't change the art style or animation for him when Dipper pulls him out of the game. The contrasting styles surprisingly work well together and are not distracting at all. That being said, he absolutely did not need to beat Dipper's ass the way he did. He's like 10 times that kid's size. He could have just held back a little. This is a 12-year-old kid. That is a crime. The only episodes I can say I don't like at all are Little Dipper, Bottomless Pit, and Carpet Diem. The way that Dipper's insecurities are just played for laughs is not fun to see at all. And in real life, no one would be that upset about being a millimeter shorter than their sister. However much that is, I don't know. I am unfortunately American and we refuse to use a metric system no matter how much better it is. Bottomless Pit sort of got a little boring the moment the second short story was being told. I honestly just zoned out watching this episode because it was just not interesting at all. But I have to say, it's a lot better than what other shows do when they have all their main characters stuck in a situation, and it passes the time by letting each character tell their stories that are original and not a clip show episodes. Using clips from older episodes may save money, but it's also lazy, and I shall make my disdain known. The plot for Carpet Diem has my least favorite trope in all of television. Like I said, I know tropes that last for decades obviously have some good level of quality, but not the body switching one. I think what I don't like most about it is that even when the bodies switch, they keep their natural voices, and when talking to other people with said voice, no one notices at all. How does no one catch on to that? That would have been the first thing I noticed. If you like all of these episodes, good for you. I'm not trashing you for liking them, I just personally don't get any out of enjoyment from them. The last 2 episodes were a wild ride, and I can only have imagined what people were like in 2012 after the end of Dreamscapers. I mean, this episode is absolutely insane to me, and the visuals are amazing. And Bill Cipher is as terrifying as everyone I have ever known who watched the show before me has made him out to be. Although, and maybe this is just me, I can't help but fully hear King's voice, and it is a bit disconcerting to say the least. As for the final episode, Gideon Rises is hands down one of the best ways to end a first season, but also introduce one of the biggest threats the Pine Gang will ever have to face this coming on. I give season 1 of Gravity Falls a 3.5 out of 5, the reason being that there are just too many things I can't look over to fully give it a perfect score. While the unfolding of the mysteries of the town and the discovering of the existence of actual cryptids was fun, some episodes with these two plot points were a little boring to me. For example, episodes like The Legend of the Gobblewalker and Land Before Swine. The twist of Old Man McGucket being a roboticist is kind of far-fetched for me. This guy looks way too off his rocker to be able to do, well, anything. Hey, so this is Brooke in the future after watching the Blind Eye Society, and I think my point still stands because not only is his memory gone, but he's gone completely insane. So I really don't see how he's still able to build a giant robot. Also, he never really talks about his son again. It's just like a passing by kind of thing, and I don't remember an episode where they like reconciled or he reached out to him or something. So that whole thing was weird. It was like it was mentioned but then forgotten by the writers and never brought up again, and maybe it's just me nitpicking or whatever, but it seemed like an important part. I feel like McGucket's son, like when he realized that his father was like tortured for years on end by insanity after the things he saw after going into Bill's dimension, he would be like somewhat more willing to talk to his father and like reconcile their relationship. I don't know. Maybe that's just me reading too many things. As for Land Before Swine, I personally just don't think it was a very interesting episode. Season 2 takes an interesting turn. Episodes after Gideon Rises connect to each other even more, and the continuity is great. Which brings up an interesting fact about the structure itself and how it helped shape how cartoons are made now and how people watch them today. Back in the early 2000s, a lot of cartoons took a more episodic route, but only the ones with sort of a more kooky tone to them. The more serialized ones were mainly about superheroes, secret agents, and even sometimes aliens. These shows had a target audience of older and more often a male demographic. More whimsical cartoons had a more simple animation style and were often more seen for younger children, but not focused really on gender as much as could they keep a kid's short attention span for a half an hour. And these shows would have 2 11-minute episodes. Gravity Falls broke new ground by not only having its episodes get a full 24-minute run long, but also having a very odd yet effective sense of humor that could get dark and often very existential. I'm not saying Gravity Falls invented this, but it damn sure does a good job of doing it as well. But I am confident in saying that it pioneered putting secret codes into episodes for fans to find and then solve. Speaking of which, I am not afraid to admit that I am not smart enough to decode whatever secret message creators put in their shows. I leave that to people who are smarter than me. I find them on YouTube, I watch it, and then I go, wow, I can't believe I didn't notice that. I really am the dumbest person I know. Back to the topic at hand, Season 2 has a pretty good sense of continuity, with characters referring episodes that literally happen in the episode exactly after it. Not a lot of shows connect these days so precisely, so it was a nice surprise. And again, the mixing of serious and silly episodes was very enjoyable. And all of Wyrmgeddon is quite possibly the most batshit final episodes of a series I have ever seen. The one thing I learned to accept about Gravity Falls is that it is the most bizarre show I will ever see in all of my days, and its finals go off the rails with just absolute insanity. Like, I remember seeing GIFs and clips back in like 2015 during the anniversary of when the show ended on Tumblr, and suffice it to say, I was very confused. It is not a good idea to look at memes and clips from this show without some kind of context because they are completely unintelligible. I had a friend try to explain it to me, and the second he started talking about a demonic talking triangle, I checked out pretty fast. In hindsight, even after watching this show, I still not blame myself for not knowing how to respond to just all of this glorious madness. Let's just take a second to list all of the crazy crap in these last 4 episodes. The design of the creatures who come out of the interdimensional rift, the citizens of the town being turned into bronze statues that may or may not still be conscious, I don't know. The explanation is still pretty dubious. Gideon being the leader of a group of escaped prisoners, Mabel being more or less a god in a world fully tailored to her own desires as a way to escape the harshness of her own reality. It takes the effort of multiple madmen to come up with crazy shit like this. I have to take a second to thank whatever higher power may or may not be out there for the mind of Alex Hirsch. Thank you. Life will never be the same. Now, while the first 3 parts kept me on the edge of my seat, the last couple of minutes of part 4 kept me on the verge of absolute tears. Everything about the last 10 minutes was worth all the craziness before. A lot of the story points get solved, the Pines manage to save the world, and even if I'm glad everything ended up fine, the thought of summer being over and the twins leaving to go back home leaves me with this just melancholy feeling. But even though change makes me sad, I can still look back on the times I had before with all the people I loved and all the weird stuff that we got into during an entire summer. Throughout this whole thing, I never really answered the big question I asked myself. Why did I wait to watch this show after 10 long years? To be honest, I don't really know why. Maybe my taste of entertainment was different back then, maybe my sense of humor wasn't right for the show at the time, maybe I just didn't know what good television was. But all of those reasons aren't true. I know the real reason, and as bittersweet as it is, it's the truth. Someone I loved very much told me to take a look at this show a long time ago. She's gone now, but she loved Gravity Falls so much, and she wanted me to watch it with her. I always joked with her about me being the only person in the world who couldn't find the fun in it. I lost her earlier this year, and it's been really hard getting by. But finally watching this, feeling what she must have felt all of that time ago, it makes me feel like she's here with me. And I'd like to think that if I still had her with me, we'd watch this show exclusively every summer, just so we could come back to Gravity Falls and have the best time, just getting weird. I just want to take a second to thank all of the people who bother watching these videos, because I know they're really bad, and I know people don't watch them all fully, but the fact that you clicked on the thumbnail, the fact that it looked interesting enough to you that you wanted to take a look, it means a lot to me. This year hasn't been great, and this was sort of, I don't know, my way of coping with it. I am having fun, but it still kind of hurts to just live right now going through the pain I am. But when I notice people liking and watching my content, I don't know, it doesn't make the pain go away, but it does something. I can't really explain it, but I can thank all the people who watch this, and I ask, if you do like these videos, if you want to see more, please write a comment, like, subscribe. I would like to use that as motivation to keep going. I know I'm not consistent with when I upload stuff, but I promise I am trying to get better. I will get better, and I will see that this is something that makes you laugh when you're sad, or makes you think back on stuff you watched as a kid and go, wow, I just realized something about myself. I hope the enjoyment I get out of making these videos goes into people watching them, and I promise I won't stop, no matter what. Thank you.